welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is my second video that I made so far on here. If you are new, my name is James. I also go by Jack, which is shortened for my middle name. And I'm 16. And this channel, I often talk about what it's like to be a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And I also talk about what it is like to have behavioral and mental health issues. Today I'm going to be talking about, in this video, my first time in the psych hospital. I have been there a total of 4 times. So this is my first time I have been in one. So yeah. So the first time I went, I was doing e-learning for school because it was the middle of the pandemic. It is still the pandemic, but you know, this was the very beginning of the pandemic. I was a sophomore in high school. At this time I was doing online school, and I talked to my social worker on a Zoom call. We were talking about stuff, and I ended up saying that I was having suicidal thoughts. So she was, you know, having a conversation, asking me questions, making me do like a safety evaluation type of thing. But I ended up hanging up. I don't really remember why. I think I was upset or something, but I remember hanging up. And then she would call me 2 more times. I never answered. And then like 5 minutes after she called me several times, I texted in the chat, which, keep in mind, this is not only a chat for her, but all my peers in that class. So like every single person in that class saw this, which, thinking back, wow. Like, as of today, thinking back, I don't know why I would put that in the chat, especially with all those people, but I ended up putting in the chat that I was gonna kill myself. So she couldn't do much further because she was at her house, I was at my house. So she ended up calling the ambulance to my house. They knocked on the door, and when they knocked on the door, I was self-harming, which was not good. So they ended up bringing me to the hospital, and the hospital obviously saw my arms and then evaluated me, and they decided that I needed to go to a psych hospital. So there was not any beds available, so I ended up staying in the emergency room for 5 days. My mom and dad took turns of who slept at night at the hospital, and they both visited me during the day. And after 5 days, they finally found a bed at a hospital, and admitted me there. This particular hospital was a hospital for physical health and mental health. So it was a pretty big hospital, and it had like 5 floors. This particular hospital, they had 1 floor for mental health issues, but people that had mental health concerns, and that was the psych ward area. This hospital, the mental health system and treatment was mainly focused on adults. They didn't really have a big adolescent program or programs. So at this hospital, it was a whole floor back this way was adults. There was like 7 or 8 hallways full of adults, and then they had on another side, so this is a big long 7 or 8 hallways on this side, and then on the other side of the hospital there's like a nursing station right here. And then this side of the hospital there are 2 rooms for children, so 2 rooms for people who are under 11 years old, and then they had 2 rooms next to it for the adolescents, so for people who were 13 to 17 years old in that area. So they really did not have like a big adolescent program. There was only 4 rooms in the adolescent area, and 2 of the rooms were for children, and 2 of the rooms were for like teenagers. So that was it and then everyone else were adults and getting treatment. I really did not understand like what it was, because it didn't hit to me that it was like a psych hospital until like I was like almost there. I ended up being there for 7 days, and I was only there for 7 days. But I didn't find out I was in a psych hospital until like the 5th day. So, because they never told me what a psych hospital was, and I did not know what it was until I was there. Like, I did not even know like there was such thing as a psych hospital. Like I didn't know like there was a thing. A lot of people, adults or kids or teens, they know that they exist before they get sent there. Like they know that there are people in treatment. I did not grow up with that knowledge. I just never knew that that was a thing until, I put myself into a situation, where I needed to be in one. So I had to find out on my own, which I think I would be a lot less scared if I didn't have to personally find out for myself, if I knew people that were in one or whatever. But yeah, I ended up being in there for 6 days, and it personally really didn't help me because I really didn't talk about any of my issues. Some of the things that my parents told them that I needed to work on, I was still in denial that there were issues. So, in the hospital, they never made me work on the issues, They never, forced me to talk. So if I didn't want to talk about a certain issue, we would talk about something else that was an issue. So for a lot of the things that were going on, I didn't address until my 3rd or 4th hospitalization. And I have had 4 inpatient stays so far. So, yeah. I ended up leaving after 6 days, and I didn't have to do any outpatient or work like that. And the only thing that they recommended after this treatment was like proper coping skills that weren't self-harm type of thing. And then they recommended a psychiatrist for meds, which I already had a psychiatrist, so I did not need to get one. I had one before I got sent there, so that was interesting. So yeah. And then okay. So that was the first time I was at the hospital. I actually decided throughout this video that I'm going to just do all four of my hospitalizations in one video, just because I don't feel like doing 4 separate videos talking about similar issues, and also I don't want to make you wait for, I don't want to post one and then you have to wait a month for me to post the other one. So I will just keep continuing talking, because this video is only 9 minutes as of today, and I can make it a lot longer. Okay, so this is my second hospitalization. So this is all my hospitalizations have to do with school. I did vent at that school a lot about my mental health issues. So all of my hospitalizations, I believe, so far, either school has recommended me to go there or school has called ambulance and I got sent there. So it's all school related issues. So my second hospitalization, I was at school again. This time, school was in person though, and I was having a hard time. I was screaming and yelling, saying I was gonna hurt myself. Obviously, y'all all know that. I ended up having really bad scars, and I was just a mess. And the school, I ended up calling my dad because, I was screaming and yelling and stuff, and that can get you sent home. So I was doing that. The school ended up calling my dad. My dad ended up picking me up from school, and when they picked me up from school, they handed him a sheet of paper saying that I needed to get evaluated. So at this one hospital there's this one hospital in my local area around where I live, and they have an evaluation center, meaning you could walk in, you could walk right in the door to the hospital and fill out some paperwork, and they will have a doctor come and evaluate you to see if you need to go to an outpatient or inpatient program. So the doctor evaluated me at this walk-in place, which I will talk about this in my third and fourth series because I did go to that walk-in place a few more times. But anyways, I decided to go. My dad took me to the evaluation place, and they decided that I needed to be in an inpatient program. But that hospital that, I went to get evaluated did not have any beds. So they called an ambulance and brought me to an ER, and the ER went to find me a bed. They had no beds in any of the nearest towns, and my dad did not want me to go to a state far away. So they decided to keep looking. I ended up staying in the ER for 2 nights, which I was happy it was 2 nights because the first time I went to the hospital, the psych hospital, I had to wait in the ER for 5 nights. So I was only in there for 2 nights, which, is way better than 5. And there was a hospital that my first hospitalization, they were trying to get me into, but they didn't have any beds, so they sent me to another one. And that hospital was actually the hospital that I did the walk-in at to get evaluated originally. So they found a bed there, and they sent me there for my second hospitalization. That hospital was way stricter than the first hospital I had, and they had way more people there. The first hospitalization only had 4 rooms for children and adolescents. This hospital had a whole floor and multiple other floors for children and multiple units. So I was there. I ended up being at the hospital for 2 weeks. I was there 1 week longer than the first one. I did address some of my issues and trauma and stuff like that there. And overall, it was an interesting experience. They did recommend, psychiatrists still, which I had, and they recommended me to do an outpatient program, which I am going to get into more my outpatient, like how my outpatient experiences were after the hospitalizations. I went outpatient programs 3 times, so I will definitely do another video, but if I add that, it will be way longer, and right now I'm at 13 minutes, so I'm definitely going to just wait and do that in another video. There's the outpatient there, and then about 6 months go by, which, keep in mind, the first hospitalization video and the second hospitalization, I went there within a month. I was only, from the first one to the second one, I was only out of the hospital for a month. So I went back. This was a story, the third one, I said some suicidal things at school, but this time the social worker that I told did not think that I was at risk with myself or anything like that. But she obviously told my parents, what I was saying, just to give them a heads up. And my parents decided that they didn't feel that I was safe to be home, even though the social worker did. and they brought me to the evaluation place themselves with no paper from the school, and took me there, and they decided at the hospital that I was not ready to and safe to be home, so they admitted me. Wait, hold on, sorry, wrong story. That was the fourth one. Anyways, I went there, evaluation place, and they sent me to the ER. I'm sorry, I get all these stories mixed in because I went there so many times. They did not have any beds at the particular admission place, and that admission place was the hospital that I went to the second time. This is the third time. So they ended up not finding any beds at that one hospital I wanted to go to, that I did the walk-in at for multiple weeks, they said. But when I went to the ER, they ended up finding a bed. And one day at another hospital, so they sent me to that other hospital. That other hospital was, had its own floor. It was just like the other hospital with their own floor. That was pretty good. I was happy that they had their own floor, because that first situation, it was really hard seeing adult mental health patients. It was kind of scary as a younger adolescent. So yeah, I ended up being at the hospital for my third hospitalization for 4 weeks. It was the longest I have ever been in a mental health hospital for. Yeah. They did not recommend outpatient or anything like that. They just recommended me to go to therapy, which at the time I did not have a therapist. So yeah. So the first hospitalization all the way to the third hospitalization, I was 15 years old. So those 3 hospitalizations, I was 15. About a few months go by. I want to say around 6 or 7 months go by, and I am 16 years old, and this is the 4th hospitalization, my recent one. I was 16, so I had my birthday, turned 16. The school called the Amlians on me, and they actually came to the school and brought me to the hospital. I was saying I was going to kill myself. I was saying that I was going to kill others and then myself. And they sent me to the hospital, obviously, and the hospital evaluated me and said that I needed to be an inpatient, and ended up finding a bed at the hospital that I went to for my second hospitalization. So I ended up going to the hospital a second time. And I was there for 1 week. So I was there for 1 week, which I was happy about, because the time before that I was there for 4 weeks. So I was only there for 1 week, and I was pretty happy with only being there for 1 week. Like I said, it was a pretty chill time and less stressful. That was only there for 1 week. They ended up recommending outpatient program, which, like I said, I'm going to do how those experiences that I did when they recommended outpatient program were, because I went there a total of 3 times. So yeah, that was pretty good. And now I'm not in a hospital, and I have been out for around 2 months now. It is really hard when you are in those hospitals and then you have to manage on your own, because it's really easier to manage when you're in the hospital, when you have all that support, versus when you can make physical decisions that you really sometimes should not be able to make. And yeah, well, that's it for this video. I might post another video later if I remember. I have not posted in a month, so I'm going to try to post more videos. Like I said, YouTube is I love YouTube more than any other platform. I haven't made many YouTube videos, but I really do like the platform and the design of it. I really do enjoy making these longer videos for y'all. Alright, love y'all. You guys are all loved. Remember that. Have a nice day. Bye.